wanted to share my screens with you. So I'm going to try it this way. So, okay. I know it's a little bit dark. Okay. So this is Isabella Ferrer's request to seal. And I just wanted to make a point that this has been the same lawyer that she has been using from Blake Lively's initial disclosures to Blake Lively's subpoena to the response for Lawfare's subpoena. And that's including the request for Lawfare to indemnify the lawyer for Isabella Ferrer. And now it seems to include this request for sealing. So how does everybody feel that maybe Isabella Ferrer was just doing all of those filings just to get some more maybe attention or PR, because her lawyer has remained consistent? And remember, Judge Lyman said that they didn't do enough due diligence in service to Ms. Ferrer, but here we are with the same consistent lawyer from disclosures to sealing requests. And so I just wanted to point that out, just because I think that Isabella Ferrer is, I love your, I just want to get a good point, and I just want to get all the honesty out. And if I'm wrong about things using this docket, then I'm wrong about using this docket and some of my assumptions and opinions. Because I'm really just trying to get the other side of things and what is really going on, because half of the stuff we're seeing in newspapers isn't even coming out. You know what I mean? It's like we're getting these half truths. And if this was happening to my son, I would be totally livid. You know what I mean? So I'm going to start this over. It says, Dear Judge Lyman, we write on behalf of non-party Isabella Ferrer, Ms. Ferrer, pursuant to Section 4B of Attachment A to your Honor's individual rules, to respectfully request that court maintain the sealing of Exhibit 75 to the Declaration of Alexandra A.E. Shapiro in support of the Lawfare's motion for summary judgment. That is Shapiro Declaration 963, Attachment 74. Exhibit 10 to the Declaration of Michael J. Gottlieb in support of Blake Lively's opposition to the Lawfare party's motion for summary judgment. Gottlieb Declaration, docket 1072 with attachment 10, and Exhibit 124 to the Gottlieb Declaration, docket 1072, 124. And I am taking a very close look at these docket numbers, because statement of what, Rule 56.1 or counter statement to Rule 56.1 filed by Lively is docket like number 10 something, and that's not included in here. And I will show you that. I wonder what Isabella is hiding. I wonder what it is too, because Isabella got the short end of the stick in this whole deal, and Isabella Ferrer's situation was heavily used in Blake Lively's lawsuit, and Lawfare was game for not even using Isabella Ferrer, probably because they thought Isabella Ferrer was like a non-starter, and they were going to take the moral high ground and attack Blake Lively's legal grounds for this, because as you can see, Wayfair didn't pull in 107 content creators into this. Blake Lively pulled in one content creator, and that was Jenna Redfield. And I read her her deleted Substack online. I think CJ might have more information on Jenna Redfield, but that's all that I could find on Jenna Redfield, because Jenna Redfield's TikTok videos on the case have all been deleted because she wanted privacy. But she also wrote a Substack on the lawsuit and then deleted that Substack, and now it's just floating out in Reddit forever space for everybody to find. But if you have a desktop, you won't be able to get to her Substack. You actually have to go through your cell phone to get through the Substack, which is why I had to read from all the screenshots. And I had originally thought that I was going insane because I was looking for these Substacks on my computer, and I was looking for TikTok videos on my computer using Google and Bing and YouTube and TikTok, and I couldn't source these Jenna Redfield videos. But weirdly, if you go on your cell phone and you type in the information, it brings it up. So I don't know if there's some special like scrubbing thing that they do, but it was just odd. And that is why I just had to make a note of the deleted Substack page, just so that everybody knew that I wasn't crazy, because I felt crazy. But if you want to, we can look at 1072 once we go through the rest of this document, because she's got some other pretty interesting things to say. Though some of it, I don't think that it is helpful to her case. I think she should have read Sony's letter first, and then maybe she should have filed. But if Sony filed later and, Ms. Ferrer wanted to beat the deadline, then I can see why she filed it. I just don't think this is going to be helpful for her career, and I don't see how this is a defense. And where is Blake Lively supporting Ms. Ferrer in all this if they were like, besties spending the night with each other? You know what I mean? Or is Miss Ferrer just an afterthought, and Blake Lively just thought that she could, be not a pawn, but like a useful tool? Because I definitely feel like Ferrer and Lively are no longer besties in public. So I'll keep reading this one point. Ms. Ferrer's request is consistent with the court's November 26, 2025 order. I'm looking at the chat. The sleepover was weird. Yeah, I think some of those photos from the sleepover were actually from the hotel, and maybe they might have been like recycled and used to think that maybe the sleepover happened later. Maybe it was a PR stunt. I don't know. I just think something. I'm not sure how to put into words. It's just I got a funny feeling from it. Also, for all of those who are on live with me, the 8 of you, can you just send good prayers and good vibes to to our baby kitten? Our baby kitten suffered a stroke. They recommended like palliative care, which really means there's nothing we can do. But I have started to do a little bit of rehab. I did a little bit of Reiki, and he is now standing. He is now meowing, and he is now at least drinking tuna water. So he just needs a little bit of some prayers. It is my oldest's emotional support cat dog, and he's having a very hard time with it. But anyways, back to Ferrer. I'm sorry about that. In a recent memorandum in order docket 1027, the court directed parties and non-parties to explain how any proposed sealing relevant to the Wayfair parties' summary judgment filings is consistent with the court's framework. The sealing of Ms. Ferrer seeks seeks falls squarely within the categories of information the court identified as appropriate for protection, even at the summary judgment stage, where the presumption of public access is strongest. Well, we all want to see what is sealed. The Second Circuit and this court have recognized the privacy interest of non-parties should weigh heavily in court sealing analysis. And this is United States v. I'm going to butcher that. Amodio. And that's case law. And this is just saying that it's affirming sealing of records and examining weight to be given to privacy considerations, which is totally fair for Ms. Ferrer. It's just, I don't think, what does she have to be so concerned about? I mean, if she made a comment about somebody's religious affiliation and it made it into this lawsuit in some way, then shouldn't that be relevant if it's being used against Wayfair? Just a question. Docket 1027 at 3 to 5. Indeed, such non-party information falls within a venerable common law exception to the presumption of access, particularly where, as here, disclosure would reveal information traditionally considered private, including sensitive personal matters which are not central to the litigation and which have no public ramifications. Again, they cite the same case. 1050 at 51. I'm assuming this is relating to that. See also application of Newsday Inc. 895. Again, case law affirming sealing of document, recognizing that third-party privacy interests should be weighed heavily in allowing redacted references to innocent third parties. Is Isabella an innocent third party, do you think? Because if she was an innocent third party, why didn't she give up all of the information requested, and why did she fight all of these subpoenas? And why did she play the lawfare game with her lawyer, who has been consistent from Blake Lively's initial sealed disclosures to this request of sealing? It's just a question. The portions of testimony at issue here contain sensitive details regarding the filming of intimate actual scenes and the religious affiliation of another non-party who is not involved in this litigation. Okay, I still want to know who this other person is. The court expressly recognized the protection of such significant and substantial privacy interests as a higher value that may overcome even a strong presumption of access. Docket 1027 at 3. Chat says, I'm thinking it's stuff they promised her or their diabolical plans. She knows something. Well, she definitely knows something. She definitely has something because she didn't want to turn over texts, I believe. Further, the court has acknowledged the exceptional level of public and media attention surrounding the case. See docket 122 at, I think that's a deposition or paragraph sentence. Here's another one, docket 124 at 6. As a non-party who did not voluntarily choose to become involved in this litigation. Footnote 2. And this is where I get upset. If she wasn't I know she wasn't involuntarily involved, but she became involved when she handed over her stuff to Blake Lively. So then she was actively involved in the litigation because she had something to say. And she involved herself further when she fought her subpoena. So I'm not sure how I feel about footnote 2. I'll read footnote 1. Because these exhibits include other non-party sensitive information, Ms. Ferrer is not submitting redacted copies of these documents at this time as to not inadvertently disclose information other parties or non-parties may seek to maintain under seal. Ms. Ferrer is prepared to submit redacted copies of these exhibits reflecting the portion she seeks to maintain under seal at the court's request. And again, footnote 2, Ms. Ferrer's past filings with the court explain how she involuntarily became involved in this action when her private text messages were referenced in pleadings, and those filings demonstrate that while she... Did I read that right? That while harassment and misuse of these sensitive excerpts, including widespread disclosures in the press and on social media, case law, sealing non-party information in part on the basis that the individual did not ask to be involved in this lawsuit. She fought. Such misuse carries an additional risk of professional harm to Ms. Ferrer, who is a working actress. Public circulation and potential distortion of intimate, highly personal testimony could negatively affect her opportunities within an industry that is uniquely sensitive to public perception. This risk falls squarely within the harms the court recognized in its memorandum and order, and they outweigh any minimal public interest in disclosures. Again, this is the same case that they cite, and it says courts may protect records from being used to promote public scandal or gratify private spite. So it looks like everybody is utilizing this statement of promote public scandal and gratify private spite. But in this case, it seems like Isabella Ferrer is using it against Wayfair, where Sony appears to be using it against Blake Lively, and I'll make a longer video on that because I know this live isn't that exciting. But I wanted to bring us to where Ferrer was talked about in Blake Lively's filing. And may I remind you, Blake Lively filed first, not Wayfair. It was Blake Lively. And the reason why I call that portion, or I consider that portion, a misstatement of Ms. Ferrer's pleading or letter is because of this. Mr. Baldoni added a detailed scene to the film in which the underage version of Miss Lively's character, Lily, loses her virginity. In both the book and the script for the film, there is no X scene. Instead, the details about this moment were left to the audience's imagination. So it's left to their imagination, but in that scene, and I can pull it up, I'll pull it up in a longer video, but there was no there was no imagination involved. It was pretty much, you knew what happened. It was easy to jump to that conclusion. There wasn't, oh, maybe they did and maybe they didn't. It really did look like they did. And they actually talked about it in this scene afterwards, or after the whatever. So chat says, I wonder if Isabella regrets it, that those promises are lies and she's been used like Taylor Swift. I wonder. It doesn't look like she regrets it in her letter. Mr. Baldoni added inconsiderable details, including both dialogue between young Lily and her boyfriend Atlas about the loss of her virginity. Wait a minute. So they're talking about losing the virginity. They're talking about the loss of the virginity. All of that seems to be in the movie. Why are we questioning if there was this, as well as a simulated X scene in which Mr. Baldoni filmed and included in his initial cut of the film a close-up of young Lily's face accompanied by an audible gasp at the moment of that one. HOC not giving up. I am intent on trying to be here for my lives. So if this is how we have to do it, and then I have to do a long form video, I'll be happy to do that. The long form video might take a couple days though, just because it takes me like 6 hours to do one video. And Isabella Ferrer, she took me like 8 hours, 9 hours. But anyways, we'll take a look at that scene and maybe another live. It should be in a live because when I put it in a video, I got copyrighted. But anyways, so we know that this was cut in his version, and we can also see that it was cut from, it was included in the original version, and the editors both commented on that before they got fired. Miss Lively was informed that when this scene was shot, after Miss Baldoni called cut, he walked over to the actors and said, I know I'm not supposed to say this, but this was hot, and did you two practice this before? And may I remind you that this scene had an intimacy coordinator involved. And it was even Justin Baldoni who stated that they needed an intimacy coordinator. But this just contradicts what Isabella is saying, because it wasn't text messages. It was Blake Lively's initial filing that brought her into it, and the initial disclosures. And I don't think it was such a misuse if Miss Ferrer was so happy to give Blake Lively what she wanted, in spite of the complaint being filed. So, I mean, Isabella Ferrer can use this as much as she wants, but when Sony steps in, Sony's got the receipts to this. And it's Sony that's calling out Lively. It is also Sony that is advocating for street relations. So Sony must have an agreement or something going on with its clients with street relations, in my opinion. The requested redactions are narrowly tailored so as not to impede public understanding of the parties' agreements and the court's adjudication thereof. Chat says, I'm wondering if Isabella helped do this just because. I mean, she's a Clooney, so maybe it's not about roles. WME, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know. I think I looked into see who Ferrer's publicist was, and I didn't see a direct link. I'll have to follow that thread again if you guys like. I have no problem with redoing videos. I'm gonna have to redo the birth video because I was totally wrong about that birth video, guys. She wasn't trying to silence Sony. It just seems like she was trying to harass Sony. So I'll come back and redo that video in a few days when everything kind of dies down. But so she's just requesting to narrowly tailor the sealing. Miss Ferrer request is limited solely to the specific portions of the deposition excerpts that reveals sensitive information about Miss Ferrer's filming of intimate scenes or the religious affiliation of another non-party. I'm seriously thinking this is Young Atlas. No broader sealing is requested. Sealing is necessary to, at a minimum, protect the following excerpts from Miss Ferrer's deposition testimony. Another thing that I think that she's also worried about is the fact that this sex scene that she participated in ended up in a lawsuit, and now she has to testify that it was, or not testify, but get deposed that it was SH and inappropriate. So what are other directors going to think when they have to work with Isabella Ferrer? Are they going to be able to trust her in directing her and her accepting direction? And is it a risk to the director to work with Isabella Ferrer if Isabella Ferrer is going to film in intimate scenes and then turn around and call it uncomfortable, inappropriate, or SH? That's my question. Is that where the harm is coming from? I'm embarrassed for Sony. I would be too. What Blake Lively essentially did was she brought Sony into it, and then she turned around and blamed them for it under Darvo and her experts. So she had her experts, in my opinion, attack Sony. And not Sony, but the representative that Blake Lively brought in through her 17-point agreement. Sony, that representative who was there for the January 4th meeting, who was supposed to be in charge and help facilitate a safe set and help facilitate and with disputes of the creative process. But yet she went and had her experts, according to Sony, attack her power grab, I shall say. Emmy, that sounds right. Thank you, Ra. I'll never watch anything she is in. No one is going to want to work with her twisting a moving scene into something it wasn't. BL only looks out for BL. She will always choose herself. I agree with that one. I agree. Well, she didn't choose herself with Paul Feig and Brandon Sklenar. So that's interesting. Alex Sachs and Jenny Slate, I think they went on to go do a project together, or they went on to do another indie, more indie genre stuff. Even Young Atlas had something else come out. But it looks like Isabella Ferrer chose the wrong side. Isabella Ferrer will follow behind VL like a lost puppy. That's what it looks like. What is the rumor about Alex Newstander? The other video cut out. Oh, okay. So the rumor is that Young Atlas, and Isabella Ferrer, Young Lily, are actually a couple in real life. Because she showed up at Alex Newstander's premiere for one of his projects. And so they, in some publications and some online chatter, they were pushing the rumor that they were a couple. Now, I don't know if that is for PR purposes, similar to what Pam Anderson and Liam Neeson did when their film came out. They kind of did a press tour where they seemed very couple-ishly. And I was actually rooting for them to be a couple. But it turns out that was for PR and they were just friends. So that was the rumor. And I haven't seen much about it. It was just a really quick little blurb. Or maybe for PR, but I didn't really hear about it. Yeah, it was just a quick little blurb. There was some chatter, I think it was on Reddit, that they might be a couple because she was showing up. So Isabella would presumably know his religion then, I guess. And that's where I'm guessing. That's why I think the religious portion comes in. Because if that was really a serious relationship, or even a friendship, or even out of respect for being an acquaintance or a coworker, it is a really bad look and really disrespectful if you're found talking about someone's religious affiliation in a negative way. And maybe that's what's happening. Maybe that's where the sage part comes from. Broke wind just now in a piece of... Oh my gosh. Okay. So Isabella Ferrer presumably know his relation, then I guess. Sweet and Salty has done a few posts on IF and Young Atlas being a couple. Jessie and Max, she posted a pic of them out of country hanging out of a bedroom together, then took a picture of a cat on a bed that was obviously slept in with two people. And then is that Bach Ari? Hello, beautiful. Thank you for the compliment. I'm glad that you like my voice and my computer screen. I'll ask you not to post inappropriate comments, but anyways. So it looks like Ferrer is only requesting this limited amount of sealing. I will say, when you look at Sony's filing, they include a few more that they want sealed, and this includes the counter statement 56.1, and what they want that redacted in. And I did a live last night where we went over Sony, their redactions, and Blake Lively's counter 56.1 statement. And the counter 56.1 statement is what I used in the video where we were looking at the deposition transcripts and the redactions, and we had Giannetti's name in there, we had Blake Lively's name in there, we had Carol's name in there, we had Baker's name in there, and then we saw Freed, and we saw Haggerty, and then we looked at maybe what the reports might say. So it turns out maybe it wasn't a relation to the birth video, or maybe it was relation to the birth video, and the experts' reports were saying that because Giannetti was involved, it was a Darvo situation or whatever. Because it's sealed, we don't know, but I can do a long form, or if this chat wants, we can go take a look at it again. But she wants just 963, 1072 dockets, and these are all declarations from Gottlieb. At least these last two are, and then Shapiro. I just don't know how I feel about tailoring in that whole religious affiliation thing, because the affiliation thing might have to do with the saging, because isn't saging it is part of, and Wrath, please let me know about this, and we can do a collab on saging and religious practices and having it being a cultural thing and a spiritual thing. I certainly saged my house, let me tell you, but you guys know my story. It's all insanity. If you ask me, from the point of a normal person. But for some, saging, which Lively brings up in her 17-point or her 30-point list, is a cleansing ritual that many religions and cultures do. And so if Isabella Ferrer or Blake Lively is trashing that, and it does end up being Alex, who might be Isabella Ferrer's partner or significant other, I would have some questions if I was that partner. Who was doing the saging? That's what I want to know. Was it really Justin Baldoni or was it somebody else? I'm going to read this one from Jesse and Max. It'd be funny if Isabella's third party was Alex and he's Baha'i and she doesn't want us to know. Laugh out loud. And that's what I fantasize about. So obviously I need a break. You know what? I brought up the religion part and Alex with Bocce. And I think me and Bocce are going to do a live tonight at 6:30. Though I think Bocce is super busy with a lot of things right now. She's got a lot on her plate. She is a superstar. So support her if you're not already. But I was talking about that and we were just wondering who this third party was. This makes me think that BL was definitely talking about poop emoji, about Baha'i faith. The set needed a good cleansing. Hey, you know what? If you feel like you need to cleanse your set and that is part of your spiritual practices, why not? I will say I have worked in hospitals where they have a religious affiliation. For example, they might have a Catholic affiliation and they have chaplains, and it's okay for the employees to go play at the chaplain, or the chaplain might check in with you, ask, would you like to participate in prayer? Also, I've worked in a Seventh-day Adventist healthcare system. When you apply to that job, they ask you, are you comfortable with prayer? And you honestly have to ask, hey guys, didn't realize you started a new life. I'm so sorry. Kenny, we think that Ryan Reynolds was messing with my StreamYard and crashing it. And it was crashing and I was still live and I didn't see that I was on live. So I could have said anything about this case and I wouldn't have even known. And you guys would have all heard it. And I would have been like, oh, I didn't even know it was being recorded. Maybe that's illegal. I don't know. But I had to start a new live. I'm sorry, guys. Kenny laugh out loud. Yeah, I'm paranoid. It's Big Brother, Kenny. They're after me. Just like I exposed the Ryan Reynolds technology, and we'll go over that again. He's really into Big Brother. That's all I'm saying. He's really into Big Brother. So he wants to take over marketing. He wants to see what you're doing in the shopping stores. And now he wants to see what we're doing on StreamYard. In my opinion, allegedly. I'm getting kind of nervous because that's all creepy. I don't think we have confirmation from Wayfair's side that they actually did saging. It's not a required practice in the Baha'i faith at all. It would just be seen like burning incense, I think. Okay, that makes sense. It's ironic that Blake was negatively affected by the saging. It really must work. Like garlic and vampires. I Googled really fast, but it doesn't seem like saging is really part of the Baha'i faith. But it could be just something they do anyway. Shocking. Khaleesi. Ryan is that Big Brother. He wants our bank account info. More like Big Bother. Which, okay. We might have a few outside people who I don't know in our chat. I'm going to say welcome. If we can get a moderator, I might need a moderator, you guys, because you know I'm a prude. But I will answer your question. Which country in Europe would I like to visit? Azores, Portugal, where I have family from. That's the Azores, which is different from Portugal. I understand. Unseen stranger Ryan, if you're reading this, that's really sad. Laugh out loud. Wrath says, I hope Ryan reads these. Kenny says he's more like a creepy uncle. Kilo says Ryan will really want to watch you everywhere. Hey, you know what? We should go over what that technology and that IP Ryan Reynolds took because it is quite interesting and it is Big Brother. Um, I should do. God, there's so many videos and lives that we could be doing on this. We will be on this case way past this case goes to trial and probably way past this case gets dismissed. To be perfectly honest with you. Behave, Ryan. Ryan is the kind of guy that would be hiding in your bushes. That's creepy, and that might require a restraining order. So she says it's consistent with the framework. It won't impede the public's ability to understand the motion for summary judgment, the opposition thereto, or the court's decision. The motion papers themselves remain publicly available with only narrow redactions, and the small portions of testimony at issue are not necessary for the public to grasp the substance of the arguments of the court's analysis, consistent with the court's recognition that material have no bearing on the judicial function, may be sealed, notwithstanding the strong presumption of access. Docket 1027. We've got some case law. So she's calling these highly personal excerpts would expose Ms. Ferrer to a significant risk of harassment and professional harm and a disproportionate consequence where the public's understanding of the issues will remain entirely unimpaired. When weighed, the balance here tips strongly in favor of sealing. Okay. He's got binoculars. Did you see little Nicky? He is the creep guy hiding in the tree. Big Brother is watching me, she says, as she's willingly live streams on an enormous mega corporation's website with a phone. Good point, Harry. With a phone made by a mega corporation that tracks everything you do, say, and look at. That is true, and that is the technology that Ryan Reynolds is currently using. All right, guys, try to be nice. Thank you for calling out the trolls. And troll, you did make a good point. I will say that after I looked up Gigi Hadid's clothing line in conjunction with the Blake Lively lawsuit, I am now getting spammed with Gigi Hadid clothing line. Which she doesn't, I don't like her clothing line. I mean, she's got sweaters, which are cute, but I don't like it. So this is docket number 1072, which is reference to Isabella Ferrer's 1072 and 1072. These look like these are the deposition pages. As you know, deposition. I'm reading the chat and trying to do this at the same time. Deposition is sealed on Ferrer's part. But if you look at 1072, you can see all of these attachments. He's swearing that these attachments are true and in the original format and whatever. And does that, you remember those, I read that wrong. Meh sweaters, or do you mean math sweaters? So these Colleen Hoover's deposition transcripts, I think all of hers, Giannetti, Heath, Justin, BL, Baldoni, Sachs. This is all supposed to be unsealed, I believe. This is what they're talking about. Ferrer's expert, Sorwitz, Slate. So Jenny Slate, she didn't ask for her stuff to be continued to seal. Vivian Baker didn't request her stuff to be sealed. Elizabeth Talbot is the intimacy coordinator. She didn't request for her stuff to be sealed or redacted. Sachs didn't, Baker didn't, Robbins didn't. Baldoni, Benson. I think Benson is the expert for businesses. Carol didn't ask for it. Jamie Heath didn't. Wayfair. Jamie Heath and Wayfair and Justin Baldoni. They did. I should correct myself. They did. I didn't see Colleen Hoover. Blake Lively. Here's security transcript. Security errata. This is a security guard and a security guard. This is a transcript. This is a transcript. Now we have Sony. This looks like Sony to BL or BL to Sony. I'm hypothesizing. I'm not sure if it is. I'm just going to check in with the chat. Sorry, guys. Is this format better? Like, if I can't do StreamYard, you guys just want me to do this, and then I could do a long form video about what we covered with some closed captions to help everybody. I just want to get good content going, you know, to get a good picture, to tell both sides. It's important to me, and I know that I'm wrong, and I will go over my wrongness, I promise, to all of those trolls out there. Come back, troll. The saddest part about the trolls is that anything they say sounds like a 10-year-old trying to be tough. Don't go back to Blake's basement. I meant, math should be a joke because RR started talking about drugs in that skit. And I was going to actually bring that up. It is part of I was going to do a Brandon Scanara 3-part piece. I'm way behind in everything, you guys. He thinks everything is funnier when it's not Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. What about Jenny Slate? So Jenny Slate, her stuff is going to become unsealed. Does the BL mean it's someone deposed for Blake's side? So when this is BL, I think this is either a text message or a email or a document from Blake Lively's side. This is a shortening for Sony Pictures Entertainment. It was noted in their sealing request last night that I read, but this is also BL. So I think that this is a conversation between Blake Lively and Sony, or at least a correspondence, which looks like it might have been significant to Sony in their sealing request. Again, we see Stone and Zavala. There's transcripts. They did not request for those to be sealed, so we'll see that. Greenstein didn't request for his stuff to be sealed. I'm trying to figure out also who the third party is, but I'm just showing you what we're referring to. So it's Gottlieb, 10 and 124. So again, Greenberg, he's going to get unsealed. Again, here is another message or correspondence or something that involves BL and Sony. Jones Works also requested their stuff to be sealed. So did Case. Vituska. We haven't heard from him lately. But he hasn't requested anything to be sealed. And whatever this is referring to, it's redacted. Again, Casey Kozla, excuse me, was up all night with the baby kitten. Jones works Sloan. Sloan, has she requested, or Vision PR requested, Opsi Kaluta? That needs to be unsealed, and I think that will be. But this is all BL. And then again, Sony MBL Family Hive has requested to be sealed. Hanks, I don't know if she's part of Wayfair. Baldoni, WME. Who is that? Ryan Reynolds. And they don't want anything to be unsealed. This is the Freud report. This is what Sony hit back on BL for. Heath Wayfair. And Ferris said 124, right? Is that corresponding? Oh, footnote 63. Oh, exhibit 124. Okay. So, Alex Sachs. Claire Ayub declaration. I wonder if that has to do with the Sony employee too. Whatever this is. Whatever this is. Whatever that is. Scenes. Oh my goodness, scenes. We'll have to cross-reference that. Trolls boost your visibility. Okay. Kenny, I think I need that pick for the next thing, because on that thread of math addicted Ryan, I did have concerns for Brandon Sklenar and the Michelle guy over their pupils and their behavior. And I'm not going to make assumptions. I'm just going to say that Brandon Sklenar sometimes seems very shiny in his interviews, and I was wondering about the scratching. The scratching was really bothering me as a healthcare provider. The scratching, maybe the sweating and the glistening, and just not sitting still. Other people seem to have better bearing than Brandon Sklenar does in his interviews. Again, where is his PR person in coaching him? Because I'm getting distracted. Because now I'm on, like, you know, the memes and things. Khaleesi says troll lover. Is that Poopies? Poopy Pies? Y'all notice how the Swifties are saying there was a bot takedown of Taylor's album because people didn't like it. Ironic. Jungle Vet Jill, how are you? I've been sick and slept through most of yesterday. I missed everything in America, invaded another country. I think I'm going back to sleep. I'll never catch up. Jungle Vet Jill, did I tell you my dad is like, hey, when are you going to come and visit? I might stay. SPE sounds like Sony Pictures Entertainment. That is their acronym, and that is correct. That is their information that is attached to their evidence. Kenny, I must have missed that one. Is it on X? Not this 50 Redwood Tree. Just catching up with the comments. Is that an Epstein file? Healing, yeah, Jungleville Jet. We're sending healing vibes. What does Ryan want sealed? It is exhibit A through D. I did math right. And Coca-Cola Blake. I'm just going to say it that way. He doesn't look very bright. Maybe he's just dumb or ignorant. Let's just say ignorant, lack of awareness. Okay. So we've got Sony. We've got Heath involved in this. And that's what Isabella Ferrer basically wants sealed as far as the declaration. I wanted to bring this up. Does everybody see this? This is counterstatement to Rule 56.1. This is what Blake Lively filed, or actually Gottlieb filed on behalf of Blake Lively. Why bother sealing everything? It's going to come out in court unless they're planning to settle. True. How many people think that settlement talks are going to be hinging on it starts with us and maybe a little bit of content creation? Or maybe a threat of, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But this is document 1075, which Miss Ferrer doesn't or didn't mention. So 1075 wasn't mentioned in her request to seal. But Sony mentioned document 1075 in their request to seal. Amy, I sent you the picture on Twix. Okay, I'll take a look at it. The wrath. I hope Justin tells him to shove it. I don't think we'll ever hear that from Justin or Wayfair. And I agree. I hope they don't settle either. Urgent. Wow, there is a lot of people engaging in this chat right now. I will just continue because I'm getting sidetracked through. Okay, now I think I know why Perez Hilton, likes his trolls. So let me bring up. This is the statement, right? That Blake Lively. The disputed facts, the undisputed facts. Last night I was looking at Visuka to finish up the friend-foe game. And let's just see where Ferrer is mentioned. I'll put in her full name. I'll have the internet think about it for a second. I just noticed there's as many likes as people here. Good job, chatters. Oh, I appreciate it. I'm hoping, I don't think I'll be able to do the collaboration with the recap of Julie, to be honest with you. One, we did pin down topics. And two, I have not been able to pin down a date with her, and I've been asking. I have not gotten 2 emails back from her. And I'm about ready to not burden her anymore. So I may not do that collaboration. I'm kind of disappointed because I really did want to debate somebody on this docket. just to see what their evidence was and what lends to that. But I am not able to. So we might find someone else to debate with. We might not. Bocce, I might be on again tonight at 6:30. And also, I was going to do a collaboration on a different topic with a different creator. That will have to be postponed because I want to deep dive into this a little bit more. And then I have reached out to another creator who was subject to the 107 subpoenas, and I wanted to get her take on everything in addition to her take on Jenna Redfield. So I'm working on a couple things behind the scenes. So just to let you know. Kenny says, laugh out loud, of course. She doesn't want to debate facts. You know, I just felt she wasn't exhibiting the full docket. Yes, it will be 6:30 p.m. I'll let you guys know if we get it pinned down today or not. I'd be scared to debate if I was on Blake's side too. I don't know. I mean, Blake Lively just seems like on the losing end, and the only person is her friend in this whole thing seems to be Miss Isabella Ferrer, and she is really determined to go down on the ship, unfortunately. And I just feel really bad for her in a way. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure she had the lights and bright lights in her thought process, but it's I don't know. Okay, so Ferrer is mentioned 22 times in this document. We first see her in paragraph 44. This has to do, I think, with HR, like HR compliance. Again, policies. She wasn't disputing policies. A complaint process. Again, both Slate Ferrer did testify to that, it looks like. Though we don't know because this looks like the Epstein files. She's also mentioned in 46, and I think in the Sony one, we mentioned, paragraphs 44? 41. Again, Slate is in this, Ferrer is in this, Baker is in this. And this is in regards to harassment training. Not exciting. Again, this looks like harassment training. This is actually, I think this is the law firm from Sony. Looks like paragraph 57 she's mentioned. So, I mean, it's not, Ferrera's not asking for this to be redacted. I will say that Sony did request for portions of this to be redacted in concerns to Sony and all that, and their producer. Oh my God. Are there that many trolls in here? Blake won't apologize. That will be true. I think Wayfair might settle if Lively and Reynolds apologize. Both sides could even apologize, but I think that has a snowball's chance in Florida. Yeah. I don't think they're going to apologize. I don't. And then we see the writer's guild or the writer's strike again. She's mentioned in this, and this looks like it's 70 or 70. Look at all of that plaque. Okay, so here it talks about intimate scenes. Here is paragraph 68. This is the intimacy coordinator and Isabella. And this is not included in her filing. And does anybody think that is a mistake? Do you think this is a mistake? That maybe her lawyer missed this? Maybe her lawyer missed talking about this? Or maybe this was intentional to be like, I'm not Team Blake. I am just team whatever, and I'm trying to protect whatever I have left. Because she didn't request for this to be sealed or redacted. She didn't mention document 1075 at all. But Sony did. Hi, girly. So this is talking about the X scene that Blake Lively wanted to talk about. Again, here's Talbot. Again, Ferrer. It goes all the way up to 60. We'll just continue to get the intimacy coordinator in there, which goes up to 65. For some reason, Baker and Talbot are in this as well. Oh, this is the birth scene. They can't sue for hurt feelings. This scene should not even be discussed in this lawsuit, right? Because Blake Lively didn't even witness it. It was hearsay. Oh, goodness, Khaleesi, what is happening in the chat and the trolls? I guess that's what I get for looking back at it again. Okay. So, birth scene. Okay. We'll start at 62. Undisputed. Intimate hospital gown. So they're talking about an intimacy scene here, it looks like. And of course, Blake Lively is disputing it. According to Baker and Talbot's testimony, but we can't even be for sure that's for real. This, again, is just PR redactions. It's just a PR redaction. Again, we can't see anything. Talbot is still included in paragraph 65 and 66. I'm assuming that has to do with intimacy. 67 is now Talbot and Ferrer, whatever they're talking about, which Blake Lively is not, or which Ferrer is not requesting to be sealed. Undisputed that the only simulated X scene was shot in the first phase of production and did not involve Lively. Disputed to the extent that something that the intimacy coordinator said and something that the expert said. And then 68, same thing. Something the intimacy coordinator said and something Ferrer said. I don't know what it is. But when we get to paragraph 69, how appropriate for an X scene. Oh, oh my God. Okay. On June 11, 2023, before the Young Lily and Young Atlas intimacy scene was filmed, Bidoni flagged to the production team that they would need to coordinate and work with the intimacy coordinator, and we saw that. I've shown that, I swear. And if I need to do another video on it, I will. Undisputed. So even Blake Lively agrees, essentially, or does not dispute that. And then something that Ferrer says and then it's undisputed, but then disputed, intimacy coordinator and Ferrer, again redacted. It's 71, Ferrer is completely redacted, and it's undisputed. I wonder if this is a text because it says appears in the cited source, but respectfully refers to the court. Is that a text? But whatever is mentioned, it's Ferrer and Talbot again. It might not be a text because now she's referring to the text. Wonderful, smart, sincere director created such a comfortable, safe space. Comfortable, safe space. It'll stay with her for the rest of her life until she meets Blake Lively, in my opinion. So these are the things that she does not, it is my understanding that she does not want these things to be unredacted or to be, unredacted. Like, she's not disputing it. She's okay if we see these things, is what she says. Yeah, Ferrer is showing up 72. And then now she's being brought up in Book Bonanza, but I don't think she's brought up anymore as far as intimate scenes. Well, in an instance, Bernie director, this she's saying was not in the script. Maybe she took it out in editing, because now I'm asking, is everything being taken out of editing? So it doesn't look like Ferrer cares if this comes out. Excuse me. So, and then of course, this is important. Ferrer gets the backlash. And now she's probably going to get more backlash. So footnote 25. And this is just referring to the complaint. So that is Isabella Ferrer. Do you think that she was being honest when she said that she was involuntarily brought into the lawsuit because of her text messages? I still disagree that her text messages is what brought her into the lawsuit. Her text messages were not, in fact, what brought her into the lawsuit. It was Blake Lively that brought her into the lawsuit. And maybe Isabella Ferrer just wants the truth out. And I'll show you what Sony did, because Sony mentions the counter statement. Sorry, I was looking up 1027. This is how I search my docket. Some people use Control Find. I don't use that. Just because I use this. Search this docket, filed, and then you can put your document number in here. If it's one single document, just put that document, the same document number here and here, and you'll be able to bring up one document as opposed to two. Oh, I have to go way back out. Okay. And you see, all this looks like all these people look like they have been served. I wonder what this is. Appear. This has to be a business, I think. But anyways, so where is Sony's? I'll show you where Sony is at and what they did to theirs because it's remarkably different. Wayfair parties, Family Hive. Sorry, I'm just looking for SPE or Sony. Street Relations filed one. Betty B Holdings. Here, this one. Sony Pictures, filed by Sony Pictures Entertainment. This is a main document. This is Lively's letter motion to seal Ryan Reynolds exhibits A through D. So I'll pull this up for you guys. Jungle Vet Jill says, Isabella is being so sketchy. We can't believe her either way. She wrote a glowing email after, and now she's lying. Garbage. Yep. I agree. All right, come on, internet. You're working before. But as you can see, they use the first letter of the words or the title SPE for Sony Pictures Entertainment. So we'll just pull this up. Unless I can do it this way. Beautiful. So this is how Sony wrote their declaration or their motion or letter. And you can see that the acronym SPE, that's how it's referred to on the docket. So Sony's is pretty much the same argument. We write on behalf of non-party Sony Pictures Entertainment, SPE, pursuant to Rule 4B of Attachment A to the court's individual rules, blah, blah, blah. So they're asking for Wayfair Party's motion for summary judgment to be sealed. This is docket 960, which Isabella only wanted certain ones sealed. Did she say 960? No, she didn't. I lost it. Where did it go? Okay. And then Plaintiff Wiley's motion to the Wayfair Party's motion for summary judgment 1070. The Wayfair Party's opposition to Plaintiff Wiley's motion for spoliation sanctions 1005. And third-party plaintiff Abel's opposition to third-party defendant Jones Works LLC motion for spoliations and sanctions 1009. Trolls are still coming in. Okay, that's fine. I think they're just going to keep rolling into our group. That's fine. Let them in. We can educate them. We can show them the good stuff. They don't have to watch and they don't have to subscribe. So we see that there's a number of documents that Sony wants sealed, which is very different from Ferrer, which is fair because Sony was more involved in this than Ferrer. And it's kind of jacked up that Blake Lively even did this to Sony. I mean, what was she thinking? This was like the best way to backstab Sony and your future distributor of any movie. I wonder how Sony feels about that Marvel movie they're making or that's in pre-production. You have finally arrived. Now the troll have shown up. I think it's just because I'm not on StreamYard. So it's to everybody now. SPE has carefully evaluated the sealed documents and requests that the court seal a very modest amount of CPE material filed in connection with aforementioned filings. Narrowly tailored portions of deposition testimony, texts, and emails of SPE employees, highly sensitive terms of commercial agreement between an SPE affiliate and certain of the Wayfair parties, and personal phone numbers of SPE employees. I wonder if they accidentally doxed one of their employees. Do you think they doxed one of their employees, or do you think that Street Relations has a connection to Sony? And I'll tell you why. So they're using basically like the same argument Ferrer is, but with a different case law. So no presumption of public access attaches to the SPE material because none of it is relevant to this court's judicial function in considering the summary judgment and sanction motions with which the material was filed. SPE requests for sealing should be granted for this reason alone. At most, the SPE material plays a negligible role in the court's exercise of its judicial function. Any presumption of access that could attach to the material, therefore, is low and easily outweighed by the privacy interests of SPE employees in the testimony, texts, and emails at issue. So it was those text messages or whatever that we saw between BL and SPE, I think is what they're talking about. And SPE commercial interest in protecting the highly sensitive financial terms of its production, financing, and distribution agreements. Remember, that's what Blake Lively wanted. Given at best negligible relevance of the SPT material to the filings before the court, any opposition to the sealing request would not appear directed at advancing this case, but rather at harassing or embarrassing non-parties to gratify private spite or promote public scandal on matters irrelevant to the issues before this court. And they cite Nixon versus Warner Coms Inc. So Sony does utilize the gratify private spite or promote public scandal. But I think they're leaning more towards protecting Wayfair as opposed to protecting Lively. The court should grant SPE sealing request in full. And this is 8 pages. And they put a table in here, and we can take a look at this. Declaration of Alexander Shapiro, docket 94512. They say it's not relevant to the performance of the judicial function. Let me see if I already have that pulled up. That's 963, and this is Alex Shapiro. This is crazy. This chat's crazy. Okay. So, declaration of an exhibit. This is 954. So let's take a look. We can take a look at 954. Let's see what's in there. Nine five four and 954. Oh, that's just a declaration. Look at all that. Let's see, what do they want? 954 at 12. Does it give us a description of what it was? Attachment. Am I reading that right, guys? 954 attachment 12 is Angie Giannetti's deposition transcript. That's what they're requesting sealed. Okay, a portion of it. Exhibit 12, and this is, I think, a paragraph. And this is a redaction. Exhibit 12, and I bet you this shows up in Lively's thing too. Privacy interest of non-party employee. So I wonder what she said. Shapiro Declaration, Exhibit 23, sealed in full. This is docket number 954 at 23. And this is just basically a financing agreement that they want sealed between Wayfair and them. This looks like this was from Sony given to Blake. That's how I'm going to interpret that. What is this? February 4, 2023, into the preliminary publicity. Okay, whatever. I'm getting sidetracked. So that's a financial commercial information. I can see that. And docked at 960. Here's rule that this is, again, we looked at this last night. I think this was the dollar amount that they wanted to keep sealed, which is fair. Here's 954 at 72. They're saying that's not relevant. This looks like it's Sony Pictures film to Wayfair. I'm guessing. Where's attachment 72? And I think I can make this bigger for you guys because I'm sure you guys can't see. This is a text message from Sony to Wayfair, dated August 29, 2023. What was happening back then? August. Let me zoom. for you guys. Can you guys see that better? So these are all the attachments that they put on there. What were we looking at? I forgot. 72. Here's a text message. This is Sony Pictures Entertainment to Wayfair, August 29, 2023. So what was happening August 29, 2023? This is the timeline. Let me do control find August. Doesn't make sense. What was happening back then? Does anybody remember? They were on hiatus. They weren't going to come back. Or she said she was going to sue me. Was that time of the text message? Anybody remember? We're still in 2024. 2024. Now it does it for me. Let's see. Where are we at here? June. I just have to see what was happening over there. I'm surprised Colleen Hoover doesn't want to seal her stuff. Is anybody surprised by that? Like, Colleen Hoover is okay with having everything out in the open. Doesn't that risk her future movies and future projects? Okay, now we're in December 2023. November. October. Here's Isabella. Again, July, remember she wants to cut. August 25, as promised, Baldwin reaches back out to Lively and shares his favorite scenes. And then it jumps. So, what is this message? Just a crazy rabbit hole. This is August 29. This timeline, August 25. So they don't openly tell us what happens and what's happening on August 29th. And that's what they want to keep secret. Or they're saying there's no relevant information. Privacy interest of non-party employee. Here again, we see the same thing. 116. For the same reasons. It's not important. This one is dated December 21st. What was happening over there? Let me see. 2020. I keep getting... That doesn't make sense. Is that right? August 21st, 2024. This is the date of the complaint. Or the news article. Isn't it? Wrath, so they'll forget about her? So I don't think so. I think people are starting to understand that she's a terrible writer. Yeah, but this is interesting here. This is dated... They either talked to her or they gave this to her or something on the day the newspaper articles came out. Okay, that's interesting. We did 116. This is the same document, 175. What was 175? Okay, this is an email, August 9, 2024. So what was happening August 9, 2024? That was after August 8th. That was after Jenna Redfield started doing her thing. Okay, now we're here on August 10. Grab your friends for your florals. Here we go. Here we go. August 9th. August 9th. Let me see if there's anything more. I can't flip and read that. This is the premiere. Sorry if I wasn't in frame. August 9th, August 9th. There's a lot of shit that happened August 9th. Oops, I'm so sorry. A lot of shoes that happened August 9th. My apologies for cussing. August 9th, Daily Mail. Oh. So apparently, blah, blah is speaking to Leslie to get Blake to cut the shoes. I wonder if this has anything to do with that. Because here's some text messages from BL on August 9th as well. I think we can get through this and just get NY Pieces killed and get Leslie to... So there... I wish this wasn't so fuzzy. They're talking to Blake. Does it get clearer? No, it gets more fuzzier the more that... Ugh. Man. Okay. So August 9th, they tell her to stop it. Something's going on in these text messages. They're blurry. So Heath calls Jones to clarify that due to the sensitivity of the situation, he feels more comfortable with Abel leading communications rather than Jones. Heath reiterates that Jones refrained from taking any action on behalf of Baldoni or Wayfair until further notice. At the time, Heath was in Chicago, and Baldoni and Abel, and they all agreed that Abel, with firsthand knowledge and the most up-to-date information, was the best person to handle communications. Jones does not like this, and launched into a tirade, insisting she will speak to whoever she pleases and that Wayfair cannot stop her from clearing her name. The day prior, he texted Jones demanding that she not communicate with anyone on behalf of Wayfair or Baldoni. Nathan, consistent with the pair's agreement, sends a text to Sloan containing an email she received from the Daily Mail reporter. Unbeknownst to Nathan, this was the same reporter with whom Sloan had been communicating with the day prior. August 8th, is that Jenna Redfield? Oh my God, I'm going crazy. Nathan confirms that she played no part in the story and tells Sloan, I'm going to have to speak with him, but I'm going to tell him nothing. She adds, happy to chat with you beforehand. If you prefer, Sloan deliberately omits the fact that she had spoken with the reporter just 24 hours later. Let me know how this goes. Okay, so now they're doing the planting stories. This is the premiere. This is where she says she went to the rooftop scene. Nobody knows that. It ends with us. Writing issue from... This is August 9th from Sony Legal Affiliate. Is that what they're talking about, guys? Did they actually write him? Sony wrote... This is from Sony to somebody. Email. Am I crazy? I'm going to check with the chat. I'm afraid, but I'm going to check in with the chat. Shoes, the sparkle boots. I love the sparkle boots. I know they look trashy, but I like them. But anyway, is this what they're referring to keep sealed? 175 is an email, it looks like, to Wayfair. And this says emails about a writing issue. We something. What in the fluff? Okay, so Sony Legal is sending maybe Wayfair an article on Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds writing a rooftop scene. Something immediately. And this is from Wayfair team to Sony Legal, August 9th at 12:28 p.m. And I can't read it. Can anybody read it? This makes no sense. We are not aware of any writing services rendered by Ryan Reynolds. Regardless of what is being said publicly, this is not something we are aware of. We are learning about these allegations in real time. Please let me know if you have any questions. So They want that redacted because it doesn't have anything to do with the lawsuit, is what they're saying. Is that my understanding? And is that fair? I didn't even read that before now. So that's interesting. I wonder if... Okay, what did they say about it? Privacy interests of non-party, not relevant. And then we have another one, SPE to Blake Lively. This is 954, and this is 192. What's 192? This is a text message, it looks like, from Sony to Blake Lively on August 11. Okay, what was happening August 11th? Um... Ten. I'm just reading this. What happened in 11? Oh, this is just a sad message. I wonder if Sony sent them something too. From Sony. Films messaging. I wonder if this is in regards to this. And then, of course, August 12th, you got the backlash. That's interesting. 192. Okay. So it looks like we got everything on this one. What else do they have for us? Let's pro target redactions. Except for 963, which they request sealing in full, which I think was her deposition. As reflected in the above table, portions of exhibits are now quoted in the Wayfair parties and Lively's Rule 56.1 statements and the two memoranda laws of motions. SPE has attached experts of the foregoing Rule 56 statements and the memorandum of law in opposition. So this is what I'm talking about. Sony requested that these get either partially redacted or stay sealed or whatever, unlike Isabella Ferrer. And in this, we saw that there was a lot of, I don't want to say trashing, but the expert reports in conjunction with Gianetti's name. And now I know why. So basically, Lively used her experts to trash Sony, in my opinion. Nope, that said Ryan Reynolds' writing issue. Yeah. So I'm just looking through this again, and this is what they're talking about, the export report. 1072.96. This is Lively's counter rule statement, and these are the paragraphs we went over again. 122, 123, 138, 144, 141, and 572. And then they include this as well in spoliation. So on top of Lively doing what she did in her Lawfare, she inadvertently dragged in Sony to harass their employee, from what it looks like, is what this is saying. Does anybody agree with that? I'll make a video just on these, on the Sony filings, because they're trying to protect Angie, right? And Angie was named in the 17-point agreement, and I'll show you that. Where is it? Is this the original complaint? Yes. This is where Sony comes in. So where is it? Trainer, dead father, religious beliefs. Intimacy coordinator. Let me see. No more. Alex Sachs to be given standard rights, inclusion of 30 per her job description. Sony must have an active daily role in overseeing physical production for the remainder of the film to monitor safety or cast and crew, schedule, logistics, problem solving. And this is say they wanted a experienced producer. And then the meeting, Sony representative was Angie. Pulled Sony in, and yeah, it's sad the way that she did that. It's sad how the Darvo she was pushing got pushed back on her. But anyways, my phone is going to die. I'm going to get off this live. I'm going to take a nap. Actually, I'm going to go check in on the baby kitty. I'm going to take a nap, and then I will be up for some more gossip and gab, hopefully with Bocce today at 6:30. If I have to do it on the phone like this, I'll do it on the phone like this. Otherwise, I'll try StreamYard, though I'm not crazy about it. If this works better, this works better. And I'll make a long form video with closed captions just to help make sure everybody is clear and, you know, stuff like that. Anyways, if you guys want more, let me know. Like, subscribe, comment. Nice comments, no trolls, please. Don't be mean. Be respectful, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.